organization that is known as Hamas conducted an offensive operation on the 7th of October where non-combatants were killed in the name of the God. Would you agree that happened? Yes or no?
Why are you asking for a condemnation?
Because you gentlemen believe in the God, yeah?
Yes.
You are servants and you submit yourself to the God and you believe in the Quran, yeah? And you believe the teaching is true.
This question is not loaded, it's overloaded.
I do not believe the narrative that Israel is given because they found a calendar, for God's sake, in a hospital, which they claim to be the names of Hamas people. The whole world is laughing at them. It says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's got the dates, the days of the week in there.
On the 7th of October, there was an incident where a group of individuals who, as I understand it, proclaim themselves to be followers of the God, yeah. And we have agreed that you haven't agreed, but what I would argue is that their behavior falls outside the guidance in the Quran for the use of force, in that they targeted non-combatants, women, old men, and children. And so my question is, if these men have walked down the crooked path and not the straight path, why haven't esteemed scholars like yourselves called out explicitly the actions of these men? Because my question is, how could the God bless their endeavors? Because if and this is one of the things I find encouraging about the Quran in terms of the direction that is given there in terms of the use of force. My question is that if men have deliberately chosen, because as I understand, the leadership have said, well, clearly this was a plan. It wasn't a random event. It was a deliberate event. And as I understand it, the leadership said that they had deliberately looked to fool the international community, that they were pursuing peace, but meantime were looking to conduct an incident like this. My question then is, stand aside proportionate use of force from the Israeli perspective, and I never would have responded in the way in which they did. But my question is, from a Muslim perspective, where is the cry that these men are walking the crooked path, that they are blind guides, and that their actions cannot be endorsed by the God because they have explicitly in their actions violated the commandments of the God?
Can I ask you exactly what they did on the 7th of October?
Okay, so we're gonna. If I don't wish to go down the.
No, but it's very important. It's very important.
Oh, I know.
Because you see, if you're going to judge an action, if you're going to judge an action, it's very, very important.
Okay.
To first know exactly what that action was.
Okay, so I'm going to say, I believe, I know that that non-combatants were killed, and let's just leave it simple like that. Okay, you can talk about numbers and the abrogated.
By whom?
Okay, so the organization that is known as Hamas, or we'll just use that general term, or a group of individuals under their guidance conducted an offensive operation on the 7th of October where non-combatants were killed in the name of the God. Would you agree that happened? Yes or no? Would you agree
I'm gonna ask you a direct question now. Did any of the survivors say that Hamas were deliberately firing into the crowd and just slaughtering people? Because there are survivors who've been rescued. There's a lady by the name of, her surname is Porat.
Okay.
Who came onto Israeli radio, and in the live interview, she was asked because she was I think the only survivor or one of two in the kibbutz that survived, and she was asked how the people died in the kibbutz. And basically her answer was that the Israelis were firing, including shelling, into the kibbutz.
Okay, do you know why that's it's inconceivable? Because in order to shell onto a kibbutz, you need something called a forward controller to control the fall of shot. And the Israelis did not have artillery ready to rock and roll on a random Saturday morning. Listen, there are.
Sorry, she's lying then, is she? This lady Porat is lying.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to. I'm not saying whether she's lying or not lying, or what she thinks were the explosions. But there is undeniable footage of individuals and from an organization shooting into random cars on highways, into kibbutzes, etc. Are you denying that on the 7th of October, men who operated under the name of the God killed non-combatants?
No, what I'm saying is,
before let me just, there's a few things that we need to just underline here. Yeah. So just a couple of things. First of all, the second time you referred to us as scholars. We're not only are we not scholars, we're not even students of knowledge. We're not even fit to tie the laces of the students of knowledge. Yeah? We're lay Muslims who have an interest in speaking to people about comparative religion. This is where we are. So you're sort of maybe thinking too highly of us. The other part is, it's interesting actually that any action, if we to take the caricature of the actions that you put forward, they wouldn't fall foul of the Old Testament or the God that you purport to.
Don't talk about the Old Testament. Talk about your scriptures. Talk about the standard you're held to.
1 second. I'm coming to it, Josh. There's no need to get upset or agitated. I'm just trying to. I'm clarifying the position.
But no, and I disagree that your standard of the Old Testament would permit that activity. That's nonsense.
One second. We seem to have flipped because we have some people now acting in a way that is probably less than what happened in the Old Testament, but with a command from the Creator, which you're objecting. But what's interesting for me is, and the answer that I want from you is, sorry, you said that you're asking for a condemnation. Why are you asking for a condemnation?
Because you gentlemen believe in the God. Yeah.
Yes.
You are servants, and you submit yourself to the God, and you believe in the Quran. Yeah, and you believe the teaching is true. And what I have found really disheartening is that there is an organization that, based on my understanding of the Quran, which I hope is genuine, and I'm not, as I said, and trying to understand it, grossly violates that direction. And the one thing that I've failed to hear from individuals loudly, less Muhammad Hijab, who said it in a millisecond, is that, from my perspective, these men have led people down the crooked path. They are blind.
I'm asking you, why is it that you're asking us to condemn? Why?
Because I want to know what men like yourselves. I mean, I've actually listened to
why is it that you need to know what I think about this?
Because I have had over the last couple of years listened to you gentlemen. I have had great respect for your understanding of the scriptures and the way in which you teach, and the way in which you engage, and the way in which you wish to build bridges between the Abrahamic faiths. And I'm also really disappointed that the issue of unrighteous behavior has not, from my perspective, been directly addressed in a coherent manner. If this had been a Christian organization,
sorry, was it Nazmi? Are you Josh? Is that your name? Sorry, Josh. Is that right? Yeah. Josh, did the Christians come out openly and condemn the Ku Klux Klan, for example?
Guys, don't.
It's important.
No, it's not.
Because we're talking about no. I'll explain to you why. Josh, excuse me. I'll tell you why I'm asking you that question. The reason why Christians don't come out and condemn the Ku Klux Klan, or Breivik when he went and killed all those people in Norway, right? The reason why people don't do that, the reason why Christians don't condemn the shooter in New Zealand who went into the mosques and killed people, by the way, had statements and dates written on his gun that referred to Christian and Muslim battles in history. Okay, the reason why the Christians don't come forward and condemn those acts is because, generally speaking, a courteous and a decent way to look at your fellow human beings is that they are presumed innocent until they are found guilty. But it appears here, Josh, that Muslims have to condemn something, i.e., we have to somehow prove our humanity. Because in effect, really, Josh, what you're asking us is, do you condemn the deliberate killing of children and non-combatants, and Ahmadiyya was very clear on that, as are most Muslims. In fact, I would say predominantly most Muslims.
Let me interrupt you there,
That's the
Abbas.
teaching of Islam.
I
But the
want
point
to
that I'm
interrupt you,
asking you,
Abbas.
Josh, is
Abbas,
that
hold
just
on.
as we would not ask you to start
Abbas,
listening.
I want to interrupt you.
Mm.
I want to interrupt you. Look at me. I know you're going to be upset, but Josh, Abbas answered your question at the very start of this stream when you asked him the Islamic position on non-combatants.
That's not the point, though, brother.
Yes, it is. It's the same question. Abbas, let me put a question to Abbas. Abbas, what was your question? 1 second, Josh.
Okay.
Abbas, did you answer a question about combatants?
Yeah, I did. And the reason why I'm very deeply insulted when somebody asks me that question, and I'll explain to you why, is because when I meet a stranger, Josh, say a Christian, a non-Muslim, I'd never assume that this person probably would be supportive of killing children and innocent people. I would always assume, Josh, that this person, like myself, would obviously, of course, they would not sanctify such an action, you see. But the very fact that this is something that we have to clarify, it comes from a point of suspicion, which is that perhaps these people actually don't condemn the deliberate taking of lives of children and of innocent people. The other thing is, Josh, the reason why I said to you, how do you know exactly what happened, is because we have a very beautiful principle in Islam, which is when news reaches you, do not pass it on. Verify what the information that you have received is in fact correct. Now, Israel has been proven to lie more than Pinocchio. So when Israel tells us that this is what happened, and we just so happen not to make it there for 6.5 hours with the military, okay, when eyewitnesses, but do you remember the old lady that was released by Hamas? Yeah. Do you remember the old lady? She turned back and she shook the hand of the guy, and she said they treated us very well. Yes.
Yeah. That's not an answer.
No. So Josh, the point I'm trying to make to you is, as a Muslim, I don't believe everything that people say to us. We have to verify it first. And I do not believe the narrative that Israel has given, because they found a calendar, for God's sake, in a hospital, which they claim to be the names of Hamas people. The whole world is laughing at them. It says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's got the days of the week in there. Yeah. And the Israeli IDF, the moron, is pointing to that and saying, look, these are the lists of Hamas. The BBC themselves have said there are no tunnels under the Al-Shifa hospital. That the gun, no, hold on a second. So when we catch somebody lying over and over and over again, it's but reasonable that I would have to then say, I need an independent investigation of exactly what happened. And you know what, Josh, is very, very interesting, because you mentioned the word react to what Hamas did. Hamas, my friend, is the reaction to what Israel has been doing for the last 75 years.
Brother, can you just one second?
Can I just go back to the?
I just need to speak to my missus. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. No, sorry.
How much time have I got? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem. I know you haven't got much time. So I want to understand why you're asking this, because this is very common. It's actually a trope, but actually we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
But I want to know why you're asking.
Perfect.
So we told you we're not scholars.
Give me 1 minute.
We're not scholars. We're not even students of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hugely influential. 400,000 people on the internet, and so why are you asking us? Why are you asking me? Why are you asking me? Please?
So, Imran, actually, I've not listened to you a lot, but I've listened a lot to Abbas. I've also listened. Is it Ijaz or Lajaz? Yeah. Sorry, or and the likes of.
Why are you asking any of us to condemn? Why?
Because I respect you as individuals. I respect the efforts that you guys have done in regards to breaking down boundaries between the Abrahamic faiths. So I don't agree with everything you guys teach clearly because I am a Nazarene and not a Muslim, but I have huge respect for what you do. I have huge respect for Islam, huge respect for the Quran. I spent a lot of time in the Middle East. And I would like to say that the reason why it is a horrible sin that Christians have not did not call out the Ku Klux Klan, that guy in New Zealand, I bemoaned that and prayed for forgiveness for that guy did.
Did you ask anyone to condemn that?
Hold on, wait a second. Just if I may, you just asked for a question. Listen,
Yeah.
the why the issues is that lots of people call themselves Christians, but I would not argue that they are genuine Christians. Yeah, and so that will probably account for a lot of the silence in regards to voices. Secondly, the online Christian community is not as cohesive as the Islamic one. Yeah, the average Muslim is far more interested in their faith than the average Westerner, and so therefore your online community is a lot more influential. And the average Muslim cares a lot more about faith issues than the average Westerner. Okay, and and my perspective is was trying to just keep this at a religious perspective in the first instance to understand if my confirming of what I read in the Quran you would agree with. Yeah, and then to ask the simple question. Because I see lots of people getting very angry with the Israeli response, and I absolutely get that. Yeah, I absolutely understand. But hold on. So, but the reason why is that I follow all your guys or many of the websites and on the YouTube channels, and I see lots and lots of posts about what's happened. I have not seen a post, and I may have missed it, and clearly I'm not here looking for everything, where there's been really clear teaching that if we want to even go down, once we verify, if Hamas were responsible for some of the things that were alleged, then that was grossly wrong. And forgive me, I don't assume that you believe that this is right. Yeah.
So then why are you asking for? Because you're not answering. The question is really straightforward, Josh. Because
I don't understand how you don't.
There is a reason. Actually,
I would condemn Hamas if I was a Muslim.
Have you heard of Professor Todd Green?
Name rings a bell.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Presumed Guilty. Have you come across that? So he's a professor, I think, sociology, and he specifically wrote a book called Why We Shouldn't Ask Muslims to Condemn.
When he wrote the book, I think it was an assistant professor. I don't know whether he's professor now.
But the point here is actually there were very specific sociological reasons behind answering this question, asking this question, which is why whenever there is in any situation in the media, when this is the book, Presumed Guilty. It's mirrored, so you can look it up. Professor Todd Green. The point here is that this question is not loaded; it's overloaded. And the point here is that we, just like you said. So, what did you say for the Christians, for the Ku Klux Klan, and the true Scotsman fallacy? These Christians aren't true real Christians, or we're not really using the internet very much. You guys are much more into your religion than we are. Paraphrasing. The point here is that this is not an answer to the question. Why are you asking us?
Because I'm asking you a question because I want to know.
You said, 1 second, Josh. Just okay. You said, I don't hear it. I don't hear it loudly enough. This is what you said. Now the question is, so why do you need to hear it from us? Why do you need to hear it from any Muslim?
Because you individuals. Okay, so either I'm going mad, or if the actions of Hamas are verified, and I think there is indisputable evidence that I completely disagree with you. You can disagree with me.
I'm not asking about verification.
Because if you make the thing here is this. I'll let you come back in, Imran. The thing here is, if you make a comment, indisputable, then that means that it is 100% or as close as you can get to certainty as possible.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I asked you the question, where did you get your information from? And you said effectively, it only comes from one source, which is the Israelis at the moment. That's where all the information comes from. There's no independent organization that's gone in. In fact, this is the important thing. No independent investigators are even allowed in, including the United Nations. They're not even allowed in to inspect.
Abbas, so you're saying then you believe that this whole thing was fabricated?
No, I didn't say that. What I said to you was
Well,
You
For
sorry,
me,
Josh can get,
no, hold on a second,
he
Josh.
understands the point. He's just
For me to take a stance with certainty,
Oh, man.
I need to be certain of exactly what happened. However, hold on, Josh, a second, just relax, take a deep breath. However, if you said to me, Abbas, as a Muslim, as you did when we first had our conversation, is it immoral and unjust and forbidden in Islam to deliberately target a child or a non-combatant? I can quite categorically say to you that yes, my Prophet, peace be upon him, taught to us very, very clearly with no ambiguity, you're not permitted to deliberately target a child or a non-combatant, a woman. That's the Islamic principle. Now, what you're doing from that is you're extrapolating out of, I would say, uncertainty, because we don't know exactly what happened here.
It's not even that. It's not even that.
No.
So you know the foundation principles that we hold. You know them because we've told them to you. You discussed them with us.
Brother, I've not
Now the question
people
comes.
say this.
Sorry, 1 second. So, after having laid down the foundations and our positions on non-combatants and innocents being killed in war, which was very clear, we discussed this right in the beginning. The question then comes: well, why are you asking this question? And really, there's no answer to this. And there is an answer, but you're not giving the answer.
Really?
So yes, because
what
what
I've now realised in our discussion
Yeah.
is, I suppose my question to you, gentlemen, now is this: I am reassured, genuinely, that this is what you believe. I can't criticize you for not responding in the way in which I would have done, because I now understand for you the verification needs a lot more evidence than you currently have. So in that sense, I can respect that. Okay.
that's not the position, Josh.
But sorry, my next question though, sorry, is then
But Josh,
if
that's
the
not the position.
verification, sorry, there is an allegation, yeah, that people in that members from Hamas, yeah, did kill non-combatants, etc. At the moment, you're saying you can't verify whether this has occurred.
Josh,
So my
that's not the
question then
position.
is, why is there not Muslim communities looking to verify whether this occurred or not? Because if it did,
How would we do that, Josh?
In the middle of a battle. So just
How
1
would
second.
we do that? Sorry, how would we do that?
I'm not
Abbas,
talking about you personally. I'm talking genuinely.
How
There
would we
should
do
be
that?
a call. Okay.
How would that be done, Josh? How would that be done?
There are networks of people clearly
What
between
networks?
different. There are. Okay.
Josh, what are you talking about? Josh,
No,
look,
what networks?
No.
Josh,
This is a absolutely legitimate question. If you're saying you cannot condemn the actions of Hamas because you cannot verify
That's
and
not
you
the
do not
position,
believe
Josh.
what
Not what he
Israel
said.
has
Josh, that's not
said,
the position. Josh,
then
what you're
why
doing
not?
is 1 second, Josh. What you're doing is I've said like 7 times that's not the position, and then you keep repeating it. So you can't. I don't understand what you're saying. So we had a discussion in the beginning. You had a discussion with Abbas. He laid out the principles of Islam when it comes to application of force. You're talking about verifying, but the question is nothing to do with verification. The question is, why are you asking us to condemn? That's the question.
Because you guys believe in the Quran. You
We
believe
believe in the Quran,
that
yes.
to be true. Yeah.
We do believe
And
the Quran to be true, yes.
So if Hamas are guilty of that, you would expect individuals like yourself, who are listened to by tens of thousands of people, to say that was. If I was a Christian and a Christian organization went and did something like that, and I
Could you
had
tell me?
a
Could you tell me
platform,
then?
I
Okay.
would
Could you tell
say
me when?
that was wrong.
Okay, 1 second, Josh. So can you tell me when you stood up and condemned the Ku Klux Klan?
The Ku Klux Klan don't. My wife and I fight against racism, but
Can you tell me
Ku
when?
Klux
Can you
Klan
tell me
isn't
when
a
you?
thing.
Wait, 1 second. Can you tell me when you
That's a
condemned?
ridiculous.
1
Sorry,
second. No,
brother.
1
Brent
second.
and Tarrant.
Ridiculous. It's a
Brent and
ridiculous
Tarrant.
comparison.
No, okay.
Private.
Ridiculous comparison. So I condemn the
let's
attack
pause.
by
Let's
that.
pause.
The LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army in the Congo, who are going around currently massacring.
No idea who they are.
Well, I'm asking you a question now.
I have no idea who
These
they
are
are. So how can I
Christians.
comment?
I'm telling you about them. So let's
Okay.
hear this.
Okay.
These are Christians militarily going around killing non-Christians to try and bring about Christian law and control in the area of the Congo.
I condemn that.
People who are acting in the name of the God, yeah.
Wow.
And they are carrying out these horrific acts of rape, murder, massacring, killing. have you stood up and condemned them loudly and clearly for everyone to hear?
I didn't know they were doing that. And if I have a platform and the small platforms that I have, I will absolutely condemn that. I did condemn.
I'm asking you a question now. So these are Christians,
yes,
and you believe in the Bible, but actually this doesn't really go against the Bible, does it? I mean, you can annihilate Amalek, and
Hold
you
up.
can.
Could I just put it in the chat then?
That's
I just want to put this out then. Right. So maybe we give a more relevant reference.
Okay.
Do you condemn the Prime Minister of Israel referencing Amalek and its and its circumstances in the Bible towards the killing of Palestinians?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And why do you think they had to ask you that question in order for you to condemn it? Did you condemn it when he made the statement itself, or did you just condemn it for the first time? Did you condemn it when he first made the statement?
So Josh, why didn't all the Christian countries,
one second, Abbas,
all the Christian prime ministers,
when Netanyahu made the statement, where did you condemn it publicly?
I have got to be so on my. I didn't address that specifically on my Facebook page. However, amongst people that I've spoken to, I said that was wrong. Guys, I don't have. I'm
loudly and clearly, Josh.
I'm a buckshy bloke. I don't have people listening to my every word and statement. So therefore, I don't have a platform through which I can say that was wrong. However, to the people that I speak with, and I resolutely said that was terrible, just like the other lunatic who mentioned the use of a nuclear bomb. So I said that was absolutely wrong. So yeah, I've got nothing. There's no.
Josh, the point is.
No, you guys are running.
No.
We're on
the
running
point,
from the reality of the situation.
On the point, Josh.
Josh, the point is, anyone who supports Palestine, or anybody who identifies as a Muslim, the first question they are always asked is, do you condemn X? Do you condemn Y? Okay? When Christians come on, or when Jews come on, or when atheists come on, they are not asked to condemn things that they are not responsible for. That's the point, Josh. No. And it's precisely this double standard. Josh, just relax a second.
So let me underline.
Imran, just 1 second. Josh, are Muslims constantly asked this question, yes or no?
I don't know, but I'm going to presume yes, based on your answer.
You really don't know? Are you actually telling me that you don't know? You're telling me that you don't know?
I don't know in terms of the.
Are Muslims constantly being asked this question? Yes or no? It's a very simple answer. Yes or no?
I'll go yes.
Okay. Are Christians and atheists being asked this question constantly? Yes or no?
No, and for a good reason.
And that's the double standard.
No, it's not.
It is. And I'll explain to you why.
So what is the good reason?
Okay, the good reason is that in the Quran, as we've discussed, you have got quite clear direction in the conduct of offensive action. Secondly, your faith is
before you move on to the second point, because you talked about scripture and this is important. So what you're saying to us is that you should condemn because your Quran condemns. This is what you're saying, right?
If you believe that is the word of God.
But I'm asking this, so I want you to understand, I want to make it step by step. So you're saying to Muslims should condemn because the Quran condemns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't Christians condemn? Is it because the Bible doesn't condemn this, or it does condemn this? What's your position on the Bible in this regard? And if it is that these actions are not allowed, then why are you not condemning them, please?
What do you mean? I am condemning them. And I'll condemn them if the Christian organization did it, or if anyone claimed to have done something like that in the name of Jesus. And I condemn all the acts of violence done in the name of Jesus over history. And I've written them on lots of Trinitarian and Catholic websites, and even people today who have images of the cross and that type of stuff, which I think is vile and perverse and horrible.
Where is your public condemnation for the actions of the Christians who are carrying out atrocities in the name of the God around the world today?
Okay, they're not doing it in the name of the God because they're Trinitarians. But you give me locations where you want me to do it, and I'll put it on my Facebook tonight or tomorrow, and I will condemn their activity.
But this was the point.
That's not the point,
because you demanded
you said you hadn't heard us.
chaps,
You
the
see?
difference is this:
Go
is
on,
that Christians are not
Ijaz, please
going
make that
out.
point, please.
That's right.
No, finish your thought, dear Nazarene, because the point
Yeah,
I
so
wanted to finish it.
I'm not actually attacking you gentlemen or your faith. What I'm saying is that there is in this particular moment in history, there is a reason why there are more people who have what would be a genuine or a living Muslim faith than there are people who have a Christian faith. We dial back a couple of hundred years, or there are lots of Christians killing Christians left, right, and centre, and it's all terrible activity done in the name of God. Yeah, and there were Christians at that time who did condemn that activity, and many of them were killed for doing so. Yeah, the reason why people ask the question now is because I'm just trying to understand from your perspective, if the actions of Hamas do violate the direction in the Quran, then we can't expect their actions to be blessed by the God. We can't expect them to be successful if what they did was in direct violation of the Quran.
I can just
the question is not asked of Muslims because people feel that we hold ourselves to a higher standard of the Quran and the Hadith. The question is not asked. The question is not asked because of that reason. The question is asked because there's a presumption of guilt until you prove your innocence, i.e., can you please explain to us that you're not a murdering maniac like those people over there, so we know that you're okay? That's the reason, fundamentally, the question is asked. And it's for that precise reason that Muslims find it deeply insulting when we are having to prove our innocence because we're being proven almost guilty before we are able to do that.
Prove our humanity.
It's fundamental. And the thing is, you know what it is, Josh? There's a lot of hypocrisy here, and I'll tell you why. Okay. When Tony Blair and George W. Bush went on their rampage in the Middle East and they killed millions of people, and in fact, what happened after that was the war on terror costing 4.8 million Muslim lives. You might recall, if you are interested, that Tony Blair and George W. Bush, when Tony Blair went to Camp David, even though Tony Blair denied praying for direction from God with Bush in his memoirs, in his personal book, the aides that were present at that place, they all said it was undoubtable that they had prayed together for answers from God in relation to how to deal with this evil in the East, in the Middle East. And there were Christian soldiers who were writing Christian verses on the bombs that they dropped in the Middle East. I don't see everybody asking the military to condemn that, ask all the Christians to condemn that. There is these things, you see, this is where the hypocrisy lies. These things are, in fact, not even on the radar of many people in the West. They don't even know about these things. And after I've just said them now, they'll have to go around and start Googling stuff to find those pictures of British and American soldiers writing verses of the Bible on the very bombs that they threw on the Middle East and killed millions of people. Yet no one, not one person I have heard where a Christian is invited onto a radio show or a TV show, and the first thing they're asked is, do you condemn the Christian extremism that has just cost 4.8 million Muslim lives in the Middle East? Nobody's ever asked that question. And your notion about the fact that, oh, but you guys have these clear teachings and therefore you have clear direction, and it's because of that reason that you're being asked the question. Josh, you might be asking the question because of that reason, but I can assure you that the very bulk, like Piers Morgan and all these other cowards that ask us these questions, they're not asking us a question because they think that we are a very highly principled people who have religious guidance. They are saying those things to us because it's a way of psychologically turning the tables on the Muslim or the Palestinian in this case, whereby they have to somehow prove their innocence before the question, and prove their humanity before the focus of the conversation can even move forward. I find that highly
but surely,
quite frankly.
But surely you have got to operate and understand that we are operating in a contested media environment. Look, Israel lies, so does Hamas. Yeah, you cannot dispute that fact. Let's not get into the detail of that. But if we are living in, and we are living in a moment now, yeah, we're at the end of the day, we're four men who want to live our lives according. We want his will to occur. We want his kingdom to come. Yeah, we want to live according to the way and the direction in which he's given us to live our lives. Yeah, and my concern is that there is a group of individuals who appear to have been operating and have initiated and sparked an incident that potentially those acts fall outside the guidance that is given, and therefore I would view them as blind guides, leading people down a crooked path. And the thing is that yes, Christians can say that, but actually it's not, and it's important for us. I don't believe you chaps believe that what they did, if that occurred, was right. But if everything that you guys
then why
have done,
ask, Josh?
because there is so much rhetoric that seems to have ignored the specific flashpoint that has brought us to this state now. Stand aside everything that's gone before.
How can you stand aside everything that's happened before?
If somebody came on the 6th of August,
if somebody came and killed 80% of your family, poisoned your water, stole your house, stole your land, okay, and then your brother or your cousin went with a gun and he shot 4 people, how can you
say that story say?
Hold on a second, Josh. How can you then say, actually, everything that happened before, let's not look at that. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's just start from the 7th of October and judge it for what that was. Look, Josh, with all due respect, Josh, with all due respect, I think we've flogged this horse, this dead horse for long enough. We appreciate you coming on, but we've got lots of people waiting. I think, Josh, you should read the book by Assistant Professor Todd Green. It's called Presumed Guilty. And he argues the case very eloquently as to why this is such an inappropriate question and a deliberate strategy. But Josh, you can agree with the assistant professor if you want to. Right? He argues a very, very interesting, very detailed, very eloquent point as to exactly why this type of psychology is being implemented specifically for Muslims, where it's not adopted to anyone else. You might find a reason as to perhaps in future not to ask such a question. Just as I would never ask you, Josh, never ask you specifically as soon as we first meet, Josh, do you support murder? Do you support the killing of innocent children? I would never ask you that to qualify your humanity with me. So I would appreciate the same level of respect that I would give you, that you would give me, and you would assume good of me as well, that this person, he already has very specific Islamic teachings. And in fact, he's a good person and he's a law-abiding person, he's a decent person, just like I am. So actually, you know what? I don't have to ask him to condemn anyone. Let me just move the conversation forward and ask him something specific in the nature of what might have happened. So I think we've discussed this as far as it will actually go. You're welcome to come back again. I'm not saying that you came in with bad intention, but rather than you just repeat everything again, we've been going for nearly 2 hours. So I'd like to get some other guests.
Could I just have 1 minute to say thank you very quickly?
You're welcome.
Abbas, listen, I am grateful for allowing me on. The reason why I've come on, it's been on my heart quite heavy now for the last kind of 2 weeks or so. Particularly for yourself, I've heard you speak many times. You're very eloquent, you're very peaceful. And I've not come here in order to try and trap you in any way, shape or form. I believe my questions were relevant and I think they're important. I understand a bit more of your perspective now on the way in which you look at this problem. I'm looking to walk the straight path. And if I had a YouTube following of X amount of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, then I would want to speak out if I was in a position of authority to do so. I'm not. I'm no one.
No, but Josh, you see, you're wrong there. I tell you why you're wrong there, Josh. Because you don't need to have hundreds of thousands of followers, Josh.
I know.
No. Even if you said you were on Facebook, yes, yet you've never ever you've said deliberately questioned Christians for doing the acts that they have done and condemned them specifically.
I have absolutely done that. Absolutely.
Okay, what's your Facebook page, Josh? Maybe we can check it.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I'll send you the stuff that I've done.
All right, Josh. Anyway, look, Josh, it was nice to have you on. Thank you. I think we passionately disagree
very much
with that line of
Josh,
questioning.
Next time when you come on, Josh, we'll talk about why you're not a Muslim. I think that'll be an interesting conversation. Yeah,
that'll be good.
You're halfway there with the
Thank you, guys,
Unitarianism.
and God bless you.
I wish you all the best. Take care.
All right, Josh.